This is good old boy Mike from Sips, Suds, and Smokes podcast, and you're listening to Pop Goes Your World.
If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review.
And now it's time for our feature presentation.
I'm Chris McBrien, and the pop culture from Generation X is everything to me.
And I'm Derek Myers, and I'm here to educate Chris on the great pop culture of today's generation.
Episode 278, Barbie Movie Review. Chris McBrien along with Derek Myers, and this is Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations. It's our first movie review of season 9, and we decided to go with a newer movie to kick things off. Last week, Derek suggested that we watch the 2023 blockbuster Barbie, and we come back here and review it. Derek, I really like how you said, how'd you put it? Something like, who wants to hear two old white guys talk about the importance of Barbie to women? Well said, my friend. So we thought it would only be prudent to have a female voice join us for our movie review. So we're lucky enough to be joined by Kaye Myers. Derek, perhaps you could introduce Kaye for all of our listeners, if you would.
Well, I'm happy to, and thanks for joining us. And so Kaye's been on a couple of the shows in the past, couple of previous movie reviews. And, if you think you and I know a lot about movies, I think Kaye would probably beat both of us in a movie trivia contest. So she's definitely got the pop culture chops.
And she has beaten us in trivia contests in the past.
Oh, more than
I
once.
would point out.
More than once. So Kaye, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Happy to be here.
Yes, Kaye, welcome back to the show. You joined us previously for our movie review of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And yes. Kaye, you were actually scheduled to review Aliens because it's one of your favorite movies of all time.
It's one of my top 5.
However, once Kaye heard that I didn't like it, she just walked off the set. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, we had some technical issues, so you couldn't join us. But you did join us for the trivia segment of that episode, if I remember correctly. So anyway, it's good to have you back, Kaye. And we're always glad to have you join us. It's always great. You want to maybe start us off, Kaye? Have you been able to take in any pop culture in the last little while that you can share with us?
Yes. Pop culture. Mm-hmm. So Derek and I went to go see the second Aquaman movie last weekend, which was, just turn off your brain, fun, dumb fun. Jason Momoa, yummy as always. So, it's action, it's special effects. It was fun. We had a good time.
And anything else? You get ready to take in anything on television or music or anything?
Television. Yeah. We watched. We also watched the Marvel series on Disney called What If. So these are short stories about the multiverse. Like, what if Captain America was actually Captain Peggy Carter, and what if different scenarios. So they're actually really intriguing and really great. I really enjoyed it. I don't know about you, Derek.
Yeah, no, I like them. They're so what if, obviously being part of the Marvel franchise, it goes way back to the 70s and 80s. It was a comic series for a long time where they were like, what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four? And like they basically tried to give writers and creators the freedom to explore alternative avenues on some of their most popular characters and villains and franchises and things of that nature. So, seeing that Marvel Cinematic Universe finds that they need to dip into every single pool to generate every revenue stream, this was yet another one that they've been working on. So it was the second season, right?
Yes.
That we were watching. Yeah. So I think it's 9 episodes. They're about a half an hour a pop. And yeah, they're quite good. All things considered, for the most part, you have the actual actors from the movies voicing their characters in the animated series. Occasionally, you have a few of the bigger stars that were just not available, so you have sound-alikes. But no, it was pretty good quality. Yeah.
Well, you know me, I don't keep up on anything new. Yeah, it's true. I really don't. But you guys tend to do the Golden Globes were on last week. I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you happen to catch them at all, or can you inform me on what happened?
I put them on the PVR and then I watched them on Fast Forward. But I watched them. The host was not as great as has been in the past.
I heard that.
Saying it nicely. Yeah. The jokes were just, a miss every single time. And a lot of the wins were, to be expected. For example, Succession basically won all of the categories it was nominated in because it's the last season. But there were, a few surprises like female lead in a drama movie and stuff like that. So it was, a mixed bag. It was okay.
So, I sort of felt the same.
So I have a question. Because again, I didn't watch it, and so it's no spoilers for me. Ted Lasso, you know how much I love Ted Lasso. It was the third and final. It just came to mind because you said Succession was the third and final season of that, so it won all the awards. Well, it was Ted Lasso's final season, so it must have walked away with a boatload too, right? Please tell me it did.
0.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was listening to another podcast where they basically said all the major TV awards were won essentially by 3 shows: Succession, The Bear, and Beef won all the major TV awards, despite 5 or 6 other shows being nominated in all of those categories. And they sort of joked, but were sort of serious about, are those shows that good, or was it more a reflection of the voting body where they only watched these shows because that's where the buzz was, and they didn't want to sort of throw away their vote by giving it to some up and comer or someone who's won it in the past, like Ted Lasso. Although Succession and The Bear, I think, both won last year as well. So,
all right, I have another question.
I think when Ted Lasso first came out, it won all the awards in its first year. So, that just goes to show that obviously it is of quality and it's winning all the awards, but not in its last season.
Mm-hmm. So I have another question. So last week, Derek, you and I were talking, we looked back at 2023, the year that was in pop culture.
Right.
And one of the things we were talking about was the upcoming Emmys and how The Bear was classified there as a comedy. The Golden Globes, they divide up television into comedy and drama too, I'm assuming. So
I believe so, yeah.
Did they consider The Bear to be a comedy as well?
I think so.
It was.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't understand. Like I mentioned last week, I watched,
fraud, man.
my wife watched The Bear season 1. I couldn't really get into it, but then I kind of picked it up in season 2 because she's like, you got to watch this with me. So I watched it and it's quite good. I'll give it that. It was quite good, but it's not a comedy. It's not even close to being a comedy. Like, I don't even understand. I just don't get it. I don't know.
Oh, well.
Derek, anything else from you for last week?
Sorry, about the Golden Globes or just in general?
Oh, just in general, pop culture, movies, or anything like that.
So I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of pop culture stuff this week. Other things going on in real life. Stupid real life getting in the way of my pop culture enjoyment.
Go figure.
But one of the things that I did have a chance to watch, you go on the streamers and it says, hey, you've watched this. We think you would like this other thing. So there was a movie that I had watched, I guess last year, called Army of the Dead. It's a zombie movie that takes place in Las Vegas. It's directed by Zack Snyder, written and directed by Zack Snyder, who did the Justice League movies. And that came out last year, the year before. Well, 2021 came out a couple years ago. And, that was right up my alley. I love Vegas. I love zombie movies. Zack Snyder does all the superhero movies I like. So, figured I'd give it a try, and I enjoyed it. It was a fun action-adventure heist kind of movie that took place in Vegas. Well, there's a sequel. I guess it's a prequel, even though it came out afterwards. So the original one was called Army of the Dead. This one's called Army of Thieves. And it's sort of like the origin story of one of the band of misfits that's in the Army of the Dead movie, the guy who's the safecracker. It's the how did he become a criminal, and why was he a part of the crew? And you'd think, why would you pick that guy? He was, he's not really that famous. The actor's not really that famous, but the story was actually quite good. And the guy who plays, like the actor who actually plays the safecracker, he directed the movie. And he's got some pretty big credits under his belt too. I didn't realize that. He's German, and so obviously he probably has a lot more success and is a lot more recognizable in Europe. But no, it was fun. I enjoyed it. You know me, I like a good heist movie. The fact that it's a prequel to this zombie movie is kind of irrelevant from the zombie point of view. There's no zombies in this. You just have a couple of minutes in the movie where you see television screens in the background where the news reporters are saying, there's a plague outbreak in America right now. And of course, this movie takes place in Europe. So that's sort of the only real connection outside of this character. But no, it was fun. It was good. If you've got Netflix, Army of Thieves pops up, I would say give it a go. And if you enjoy it, then go and watch Army of the Dead. So that was really the only movie I saw. But I did have a chance to take in a documentary this week, finally.
Did you say documentary?
For 40 days and 40 nights, he watches documentaries. He likes to learn about the world. It's Derek's Documentaries. Derek's Documentaries.
Please share.
So on Turner Movie Classics, TMC, TCM, pardon me, Turner Classic Movies, they're running a 6-part documentary series called The Power of Film. This is based on a book by a professor of pop culture and film named Howard Suber. And this is a 6-part documentary series. Each episode's an hour long. The first one dropped last week. Both Kaye and I watched it. I'll just read you a little blurb here about what they say. The question they were asked is like, well, why would you bother making this thing? And then they're talking about this series will explore why films have such a cultural and emotional impact on audiences, both upon their original release and still to this day. So, Chris, that's basically what our show's about, right? It's we want to find movies that have that nostalgia button that you want to go back and watch again, that you want to identify the new movies that you think have staying power. This documentary basically taps into that, and the professor is obviously at the forefront, the author of the book. They do it's like, he's the talking head. They ask him the questions, but there's a ton of movie clips thrown in to really emphasize and punctuate what he's saying. So even though only the first one started last week, it's going to run one a week for the next 5 weeks in a row. Again, it's called The Power of Film. It's on Turner Classic Movie. I really enjoyed it. I mean, Kaye, you watched it. What did you think?
I thought it was fantastic. It's he really goes into in depth as to themes in certain films, like for example the power of family and the power of the hero going on a journey, and even just the ratio aspect of film. For example, having close-ups and having wide shots, and how it can affect how you feel about the film that you're watching.
Yeah, Chris, I think you'd really dig it. So
this sounds like it's up my alley for sure.
I suspect they'll rerun them like most channels like this now. What they'll do is, the episodes are on Thursday nights. I suspect what they'll do is Thursday, an hour before the new episode, they'll show last week's and then they'll show this week's. That's how it usually works. So if you can catch the first one, great. If not, you got 5 more to enjoy. So I think people who are listening to this podcast would probably dig it. So check it out. It's on TCM. It's on Thursday nights, and the first episode's the only one out so far, so you're not that far behind.
Cool. Okay, for me, my pop culture thing this week involves my youngest son. So he started watching Power Rangers again. He used to watch it a couple years ago, and he's just like gotten back into it, I guess. So I never watched the Power Rangers, like back in the 90s whenever it came out. But there used to be like one version of the show, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right? So I walked by the living room the other day, and he's in there watching it, and I go, oh, hey, it's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And my son's like, oh, Dad, you're so lame. It's not the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's Dino Fury. I'm like, well then, okay. So I'm like,
don't even understand what that is.
Exactly. I'm like, is this the one you used to watch when you were younger? He's like, no, that was Ninja Steel. So apparently there's like multiple incarnations of this stupid thing now. They all look exactly the same. But the thing is, not only am I lame, I'm also apparently in trouble, because my wife comes in and she says to my son, which one is your favorite Power Ranger? He's like, oh, I like the black one. But Daddy's favorite is the pink Power Ranger. And I'm sleeping on the couch. Oh, brother. Oh, man. Okay, I got this one too.
Here's your dad joke of the week.
This one, instead of having like a question and a punchline, is like a little story. I just want to tell you. Okay?
Okay. I'll get my groans warmed up.
Yeah, please. Okay, so the weather forecast the other day called for rain, but it was sunny outside. So I asked Siri, surely it's not going to rain today. And Siri replied, yes, it is, and don't call me Shirley. That's when I realized that I left my phone on airplane mode.
Oh my god.
That's pretty good, actually.
Oh, yes, baby.
This is a little more Chris's documentaries than Derek's documentaries.
Was I in it? Like, did they feature me in it?
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and I don't normally talk about things I haven't seen.
Did they go like local celebrities or something like that?
Well, I think it's going to be kind of laughably bad.
Have you seen my old TV show? But that was as old school as you can get.
I'm not really holding out hope that it's going to be awesome.
Good luck on that one.
If I really want to understand Chris and who he is, I need to watch this documentary.
If you really want to understand me, go back and watch like WKRP in Cincinnati.
Okay, as I mentioned at the top of the show, last week we took a look back at 2023 in pop culture. And then at the end of the show, Derek, you thought it'd be a good idea to watch the film Barbie from last year and come back and review it here on the podcast. Needless to say, we would greatly benefit from a female perspective, and that's why Kaye is with us this week. But maybe to kick things off, Derek, maybe just take a minute, explain why you wanted to review this movie.
Sure. Well, number one, it's a great film. It was definitely one of my favorites from last year. I think that there's a lot of people that went out of their way to not see it, mostly men, I would suspect, either because they thought it was going to be stupid, they thought it wasn't going to speak to them, they thought it was going to be, over-the-top girl power. But as a guy, I was already curious to see what the movie was going to be about because, as we've said in the past, I try to avoid trailers. I don't want anything spoiled for me before I get into the theater. So I didn't know anything about it going in, but I thought, they're putting all this effort into it. They're not going to waste their time and money by putting out a piece of garbage. And it was fantastic. I was blown away by how great it was. And I think that, I think everyone should see it. I think the message is so important. And I think it's more important even the guys see it because I think a lot of men are just so oblivious to so many things, and I'm probably oblivious to certain things myself more than I'm aware of. It's that whole thing, you don't know what you don't know. But I think a lot of the issues and the comments and the commentary that comes through in this movie, it's a movie written by women, directed by a woman, produced by a woman, starring women. Like, it's girl power on film, but it's done in a way that is universal, and I feel that Our audience should see it if they haven't seen it already. Plus, if you're a movie buff, it's already demonstrated that it's been nominated for a bunch of awards. It's already won a handful of awards. I think Kaye's got the list there. I'll let her talk about that a little bit. Every year we talk about all the movies that are in top contention for things like the Oscars. This movie's going to be among that group. So whether or not you think Barbie is a movie for you, if you're a movie person, I think you owe it to yourself to see it simply to understand just how important and how good it was compared to other movies that came out this year. And I think, as we often talk about, I think this is the kind of movie that's going to have a tremendous amount of staying power. People are going to watch it. They're going to watch it again and again. They're going to want their friends to watch it. They're going to want their kids to watch it. And hopefully it encourages people, women specifically, to be more, take bigger roles, be more active. I think it's just an important piece of our pop culture that is long overdue. And I think people who haven't seen it really should.
So, Kaye, we're going to definitely do a deep dive on this film. We're going to get involved in a lot of different areas, and we'll get there. But just off the top, maybe if you could just give us your brief overall impression of the film.
Like Derek, I didn't have any expectations going in. I mean, I knew who the couple of lead actors were. That was just about it. And I'd never really played with Barbies myself growing up. I think I might have had a doll. So I wasn't really like, Barbie girl that way. But, I was curious, and I was, completely blown away, especially by, like, as Derek was saying, a lot of the messaging putting out there about just what women have had to go through and what they're still going through, and just how it's represented through a doll. And I loved it entirely. Can't say enough good things about it. Just love it.
I think like you guys, I didn't know what to expect from this thing. Like, was it going to focus on toys? Was it just some walking, talking dolls, with little substance going on? And I didn't know what to expect. And I remember the only real tip off I had about this film was I remember I saw like it was like a paparazzi picture or something of like Ryan Gosling when they were shooting the film in like these crazy colored clothes, and I think he was on like these roller skates in like Santa Monica or something like that. And I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I don't really like a lot of the movies that you suggest, Derek. It's just the way I am.
No kidding.
I know. This week was different. I thought this was fantastic. I thought it was really good.
We can stay friends with Chris.
We can stay friends with you then.
I was actually really surprised by how good it was and how much I enjoyed it. So I watched it with my wife. One of the few movies that she actually agreed to watch with me for the podcast. She usually doesn't. And funny enough, I even liked it better than her. Believe it or not. So let's dive into this movie a bit. First of all, let's start with the box office. So it was the number one film at the box office last year. Took in $636 million domestically at the U.S. box office. Number one, finished ahead of the Super Mario Brothers movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and Oppenheimer. And it was obviously marketed very sort of creatively along with Oppenheimer because they came out at the same time. Like we're calling it like Barbenheimer and all that stuff. But again, going back to that paparazzi picture that I saw, I thought this is just like a stylistic movie about toys, but it's not. There's so many themes going on. So that's where I'd like to start, if we could. Some of the themes that are going on in this movie, it is definitely substance over style, and I did not think that was going to be the case.
There's lots of style in it, too.
There's
a lot of style, too.
Because the style is definitely there.
You're right, because it definitely has a look, and obviously that bubblegum pink, kind of pervasive color going on all the time. But that being said, I was like wowed by the substance in it. So one of the themes that really jumped out to me right from the get-go was the idea of perfection. And I think, the movie started out pretty much the way I expected it to. Everything is perfect. Right? There's this world where everything's pink, everyone's beautiful, everyone's perfect. Every day is like the same day, and every day is the best day ever, And I guess
women rule.
Yes, of course, the world that they're in, the women rule. And I think that's what I expected the movie to be. It's just every day is perfect, and this is what it is. And then, I don't know, her and Ken go off in their Barbie camper, and everything's just, nothing bad ever happens. I mean, even Margot Robbie's character is called stereotypical Barbie. So, everything is like about perfect, right? But then the movie starts to get really good because it sounds, by the way, there are lots of spoilers in this, obviously, let's talk about it. But she starts having these thoughts of death, and then her feet get like flattened out and she gets cellulite on her thighs. And I love how they handle it because it's like her human owner imposed these thoughts on her. And I love that aspect of the film. I thought that was kind of a unique way to kind of approach the subject matter, don't you think, Derek?
Yeah, absolutely. We always talk about how there's no original ideas. Everything's a remake. Everything's a reimagining. Everything's intellectual property, comic books, video games, what have you. When you hear Barbie, you think, oh, to your point, this is just going to be a 2-hour commercial for them to hawk toys and merchandise. I was thinking of things like the Transformers movie, which, again, was hot garbage. And you went in thinking, oh, this is just going to be like how boys play with toys, giant monsters punching each other. And it's like, oh, well, what's this Barbie movie going to be like? And the fact that it wasn't just that, I think, speaks to the importance of everything that the movie was trying to convey. And within like 5 minutes, you realize, exactly to your point, whatever preconceptions you might have had coming in, they're out the door immediately. But you're brought in with the spectacular visuals and the style. We talked about style over substance, but the style is still so fantastic. I don't even know if it's style over substance. It's almost like style and substance are sort of side by side in this one, and that's important.
I think that's what's going to make it a long-lasting film that people are going to want to keep watching years from now.
Oh, definitely. Like, for me, I went in with some sort of stereotypical thoughts that, like, Barbie, I think, always represents perfection and something that's almost like unattainable for girls. And they definitely address that here. And when Margot Robbie realizes that that Barbies have caused all these like image issues for girls. She gets this reality check. But the thing is, like, they're also saying that girls impose personality traits onto their Barbies. They can, I guess, in some way, like a reflection of themselves. And this, I think, is where we need some help. Because, you know, as Derek mentioned, like, we're a couple of old white guys. We didn't play with Barbies. And Kaye, you mentioned you didn't really play with Barbies either. But any insight on how girls play with Barbies? Is it just Barbie reflecting to them, or do they reflect it on the Barbie, or is it a two-way street, or...
I think it's a two-way street, but it's also like in the movie says, like up until then, there's only been baby dolls, so they can finally, with a Barbie doll, pretend or act or project onto this doll about how to be a grown-up, how to have a life, how to have a career, how to, own a house and own a car and be your own woman. It's just something that they could aspire to. With this doll. So, yeah.
I guess the only way I can relate to it is how I played with action figures as a kid.
You wanted to be Han Solo, did you?
Well, I never played with G.I. Joe or anything like that. And I know you did, so we'll get to that. For me, there was a couple toys I played with that were kind of related to this topic. So Star Trek figures. They were basically Mego Barbie dolls that looked like the cast of Star Trek. And then probably my favorite toys ever were the Star Wars action figures. So, but for me, even as a kid, I feel like I was more of a collector of the Star Wars figures than just playing with them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess Luke Skywalker got...
I think the difference between boy toys and girl toys, the boy toys, they were geared towards you fantasizing about... different sci-fi adventures and stuff like that, whereas the girl toys were geared towards girls to pretend to be moms and to clean house and to be carers, so to be subservient, that kind of thing. So I think that's where we differ in the toys as we were growing up.
So what about when, like, because Barbie was pretty famous back in the day for the dolls, doing different things. Like there was like, whether it was lawyer Barbie or, all these different, political Barbie or whatever they were. Again, I'm not really familiar with them, but I think there was lots of opportunities, or they tried to put Barbie in different situations, maybe to show girls that you could do these things.
Correct.
Is that fair?
Yeah. That's fair. They through the years, they finally realized that they needed to have Barbie have many different careers. They even, a few years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, changed the actual body shape of some Barbies to have like a fuller figure, to have smaller boobs, that kind of thing, to not be as unrealistic body shapes as they have been typically in the past. And also like different skin tones, different cultures. So they're really trying to bring her into, the 21st century, to really showcase what diversity we have in people. They wanted to show that in the doll as well, so that people can see themselves reflected.
So you were saying, like, boys, when we play with our action figures, we sort of superimpose ourselves into there in a fantasy way, hoping that we're the one in the X-Wing fighter.
Typically, for years and years, for generations, right? Like those, you boys got the fantasy, toys you could use and play with cars and, sci-fi stuff, whereas girls got dolls, they got houses, they got cooking play sets, they got babies, they got all the things that society told them to, this is how to prepare you to be a mother or a carer. Instead of trying to be the adventurer.
Right. And I wonder if the fact that they made all these different Barbies later on, if that had an effect, if that made girls and want to like impose themselves on that. Hey, I want to be a lawyer one day too, or whatever.
It did absolutely. Like Good. They could see that the dolls were doctors and lawyers and that kind of thing, so they could finally think I could do that as well instead of just being a stay-at-home mom.
See, for me, like playing with my Star Wars action figures wasn't so much about me wanting to be them and do that. It was more about how I recreated my experience with the movie. Like, I might have the figures recreate scenes from the movie. You know what I mean? Like, Derek, what about you? Like, you how did you play with your action figures or, you know, G.I. Joes or Star Wars stuff?
I think I'm sort of the same as you. But again, I think, you know, growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, things were very different, right? To Kaye's point, there were tons and tons of boy toys, and there was a wide variety, and there was not really a wrong way to play with them. Whereas I think, you know, to build on what Kaye's been talking about, I think that a lot of girl toys were very limited. There might have been different kinds of dolls, but they're all generally the same. They all were more of that, you know, society believes that you should be this kind of a person, and that's what the toys were geared for. It was almost like they were, you know, training manuals for little girls on how to become moms. It's like, well, that's great if you know, you can certainly be a mom, but where was the, you know, you didn't have the equivalent of a Star Wars movie in the late 70s, early 80s, where 9 out of the 10 characters were women. You had Star Wars, and it was the damsel in distress and a bunch of dudes. You know, and that was a reflection of the attitudes at the time. So it's definitely a you know, a huge step forward that 40 years later we're getting this Barbie movie, and it's got this message. It's unfortunate it's taken this long, but you know, progress is being made, and there's obviously still room for improvement.
So that being said, let's take a look at another theme. And Kaye kind of brought it up, this idea of the patriarchy. Because in the Barbie universe in this film, women have control. And then in the real world, men have control. And I liked how this film played those two off of each other. So I'm going to ask, Kaye, maybe we'll start with you. Ultimately, what do you think the message of the film is in regard to patriarchy and matriarchy issues?
I mean, I think they were just trying to showcase how, you know, how very male dominated we are in this real world, and how ridiculous a lot of it is. Like, for example, the whole male board team for Mattel. All these guys are all white guys who are running this, you know, this toy company for girls, and they think they know what girls want. You know what I mean? So I think they were just really trying to emphasize how, you know, just males have taken over everything and think that they know what's best for everybody. And having that juxtaposition from the Barbie land where it's all females, and, you know, Barbie coming into the real world just gets this glimpse of, wow, this is so different from what I'm used to, and I don't know how to deal with it, is basically what women go through every day, all day. This is how we feel every day, all day. So it was just sort of a, you know, what's been implicit has now been made explicit for everybody to view and understand that this is what we feel every day. And then when Ken sees it, he thinks, oh my God, this is the best. And of course he would, because he's a guy, right?
And it's so funny because everything that you're saying, all those things that the movie points out, made some people very uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I'm kind of glad that it does, because it makes people look into themselves and go, well, why do I feel this uncomfortable? Why is this making me so angry? Like, what is it about me? Because, you know, obviously they've been brought up to believe this one thing. And now, you know, women are trying to say, well, you know, that's wrong. You know, not to say that it's wrong, but it's wrong. Like there's different ways of thinking, of doing things. And they're just trying to really showcase that, you know, it's okay to feel that way, but we need to make some big changes.
Unfortunately, what you're saying requires self-reflection and some critical thought, which a lot of people don't possess. Unfortunately, if they did, maybe we wouldn't be where we are, right? Derek, any thoughts on this theme here?
Yeah. So the one thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, I think to really accentuate emphasize and go over the top with this idea is in Barbie Land, when you see and hear Ken and the way he behaves at the beginning of the movie seems, at least I think to most male viewers, like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Look at this. But then you start to think about it and you're like, this is how women often behave in many cases because society forces them to think that this is how they have to behave. But when you see Ken doing it, it seems so over the top and ridiculous that you laugh at it, that, you know, as a point of humor. But
in a lot of movies, that's what the girlfriend character is like.
Absolutely. But in a typical movie, if the roles were reversed and the woman was saying and feeling those things, everyone would be like, yeah, that sounds about right. And nobody would think it would be odd for a woman to behave that way. But when the man in this movie behaves that way, it gets a lot of criticism of, oh, well, you know, that was ridiculous. Why would he do that? And it's like, don't you realize what's happening here? The whole point of this is to swap the gender roles so that the people that need to understand this the most are seeing it in such an extreme way that maybe they will actually start to think about it and realize, like, hey, you know, is this really what women think about? Yes. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like, you need to make it somewhat family friendly, so you can't dive into some of these things too much. But if it starts to open the door and generate conversation, then I think it's doing what the movie's it's accomplishing what the movie's trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And I like how they flip it, because the Kens don't exist unless Barbies show them attention. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just like how women have been made to feel historically, you know, in the non-Barbie world, right? And I love how, I think it's like at the end of the movie when the Kens are starting to they decide to give the Kens just a little bit of power. and the one Ken is like, does this mean we get a Ken Supreme Court justice? And the one Barbie's like, I don't know, she's like, I'm paraphrasing, but she's going to like, slow down a little bit here, not too fast, which I thought was kind of funny, because again, it just kind of shines a light on everything just from the other perspective, right? Which is one of the good parts of the film. Another theme that I wanted to bring up was existentialism, because I think that might be one of the most important aspects of the film. You know, like, because why are we here? Like, why do we exist? What's it all about, right? And Barbie, the Margot Robbie Barbie, she makes this choice. Like, she'd rather leave Barbie world and go live in reality, even though that means she's going to experience real emotions, good and bad, obviously. She's going to experience growth and aging and eventually death. But she chooses that life over the other life, which is eternal happiness and ignorant bliss. So that's what I kept thinking when I was watching this. I thought, what an interesting concept. So I'm going to put it to you both. I'm going to put you on the spot. You get two choices. Option one, a life of ignorant bliss. Always happy, no problems, live forever. Option two, real life with emotions, ups and downs, growth, aging, death. Which one are you going to pick?
Option two.
Option two?
Option one's too boring.
Yeah, I think you need to understand the highs and lows to be able to genuinely feel the greatness of those highs and the despair of the lows. If you don't know what that range feels like, then how do you gain that sense of accomplishment, that sense of pride, that sense of purpose? Yes, it's possible that you would then also have the sense of despair and downfall and things that might come with that. I mean, it's a pendulum. It can swing both ways. But if you're only ever on one track forever, although an outside observer might say this is amazing, if you don't know any different, then how, to you, it's not amazing as much as it's just the norm. Whereas if you can experience those highs and lows and then you manage to hit those highs, you can appreciate them for what they are. And I think that's a lot of what the movie talks about as well.
But I think also like Barbie Land is not the same after the end of the movie. Like, all of the Barbies and the Kens, they've learned, they've grown themselves as well. So it's not going back to the, pretty pink world that was at the beginning of the movie. It's still going to be, kind of perfectly women-led, Barbie Land, but in a different sort of more woke way.
Mm-hmm. There's two great speeches in this movie, and I want to talk about both of them. The first one was America Ferrera, when she says, basically, she says, it's literally impossible to be a woman. You know, you got to be thin, but not too thin. A boss, but not mean. Like a mother, but you can't always talk about your kids. And maybe the best line of the whole movie is in her speech when she says, you have to answer for men's bad behavior. And I think that struck a nerve. Like it did with me. And,
Good.
And I think it struck a nerve positively and negatively. Like positively for me, like I think that's a good thing. Like to acknowledge this. Holy crap, she's right. What the hell? Derek, man, I feel bad. Like we're jerks, like overall, as a race, you know, as a gender. But I think some people, you know, flipped it the other way and were like, you know, screw you kind of thing. And they took it negatively. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that felt this movie was to use your word, Kaye, that it's too woke. You know, like this is, you know, if you watch like Fox News, not that I watch Fox News, but if you watch like just the way that they were just slagging this movie, and I think it has to do with that. I think it just cuts a little too close to the bone for some people, but it's so true
because they're afraid of change. They don't like being challenged to their power. So they, you know, when somebody speaks a truth like that, which is, you know, a truth for basically every woman everywhere, you know, that just challenges their power and they don't like it. And so they're going to slam.
Which is just, it's just so amazing. Like we were talking last week, Derek, about how some men hate Taylor Swift, you know, and I kept thinking about that when I was watching this movie. And it's like any shift at all in regard to equal rights is construed as a threat by some people. It's so crazy. Because giving someone else the same rights as you doesn't mean less rights for you. It's not pie, you know. But
it's a challenge to their power.
Yeah, so they just freak out about it, you know. And
well, let me tell you, when we saw the movie in the theater and I heard America Ferrera's speech and right at the end, I literally started clapping. I was so emotional because that, like, what we feel every day, all day, she just put it out there. It like brought tears to my eyes. It made me want to scream like, yes. It was just such a great speech.
Yeah, the whole theater clapped and you know, again, yeah, like to hear it up there, to see it up there, and to have that, you know, like we were saying at the beginning, the idea of to see yourself reflected on screen, to have a voice, and here's this, you know, the #1 movie of the year has this message, and hopefully this movie will be around and be watched again and be remembered, and hopefully that speech in particular, I mean the whole movie, but that speech in particular is heard over and over again and is absorbed, and hey, if you don't like it, ask yourself why. And yeah, no, it's that to me was the highlight of the movie.
This must have been a different experience watching in the theater, obviously. More of a collective experience. I know a lot of people went to see it like with their daughter, and so it was a real mother-daughter thing. Like, and they marketed it so well, you know, for that. You know,
there were a lot of families there with kids and a lot of people wearing pink. So you know, it was a good collective experience. Yeah.
Just because we may have made progress, but patriarchy still exists, and it has 100%. Not changed a whole lot. But I guess at least with this speech, like maybe women can feel less alone in that moment in dealing with all this crap. So yeah, maybe it would have been better as a sort of a collective experience. So that's the one speech. The other speech that I want to mention was Rhea Perlman's at the end when Barbie meets Ruth Handler. She's the creator of Barbie, right? And she basically asks for permission to become human so she can be like real or whatever. And I love how Rhea Perlman as Handler says, you don't need my permission. I can't control you any more than I can control my own daughter. And the thing is, like, again, just like the last speech, she wasn't talking to Barbie. She was talking to every single female member of that audience. Mothers and daughters alike. And I really hope my wife doesn't get upset. She doesn't really listen to the podcast, but I hope she doesn't get upset with me. But she was crying during that speech. And like obviously I can't relate to it. I mean, but I get it, but I don't get it, you know? Like, that was a great speech, don't you think? Okay.
Absolutely. Like it was, you know, with the song, with Billie Eilish's song, What Was I Made For, just over top that whole scene, which won Best Golden Globe, FYI. Like really emotional impact, and just, you know, it makes you really want to root for her and want her to become human, even though she, you know, doesn't have to ask for it, right?
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about the cast, because I think the cast in this film, I think, was very, very well cast. So we'll start with Margot Robbie. So I'm not really all that familiar with her work. I mean, what a surprise. You know, she wasn't in movies back in the 80s. But I did see Wolf of Wall Street. But that was it. I mean, she was in I, Tonya as Tonya Harding, right? I don't know. She's like a little too good looking to play Tonya Harding, I think. But I thought she was perfectly cast here. I mean, she's physically perfect, like stereotypical Barbie, but I feel like she's got the acting chops to give that character a lot of depth. I liked her a lot in this. Do you agree with that? Derek, did you like Margot Robbie in the lead role?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you're going to make a Barbie movie, the lead needs to look like the you know, stereotypical Barbie, which she does, and they certainly made her up with the hair and the makeup and the costumes to make that even easier to believe. One of the things that I did find was sort of interesting is, so she was, before this movie, she was well known for playing Harley Quinn, which is from DC Comics, Batman villain, and you had a lot of girls emulating Harley Quinn. They were dressing as her for Halloween and costume parties, and you had all these old men oogling at her, at them, because they were trying to dress like her character in those movies. Then when those same girls were dressing as Barbie based on what was going on in the movie, you had a lot of people going, well, I don't like that they're dressing like Barbie because it sends the wrong message, and it's this, you know, it's too woke. And it's like, come on. You know, you were fine when they were scantily clad and you could check them out and be pervs, but now that they actually want to emulate what they're seeing on the screen to empower themselves to you know, be their own girl, be their own woman, and put them in a position where they can, you know, try and take that power back, you're upset with it. It's such a you know, such a double standard, as so often happens to women.
So you and I obviously liked Margot Robbie in this role, but I mean, the one that really counts, Kaye. What do you think? How do you think of the casting?
Oh, I thought she was perfectly cast. Yeah. Good. I mean, she's got that bubbly personality that's like Barbie. She's funny. She can do physically funny comedy. She can be serious. She can bring you to tears in a second. She's the whole package. I love her.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that scene, like I say, with Rhea Perlman at the end, the way she reacts to that speech. Wow. That was pretty good. She's got some chops, that's for sure. Ryan Gosling. I'm going to go on a limb. I was
not expecting him as Ken, to be honest. Like,
so what do you think? Did you like him?
You know, when you think of Ken, Ryan Gosling does not come to mind.
True.
But after watching the movie, I loved it. I thought he was hilarious. I thought he was over the top when he needed to be. You know, I'm just Ken. Like, you can't get any better than that. And the whole beach fight scene, you know, he was hilarious as he needed to be. Like, he played a perfectly good dumb Ken, but did have a little bit of growth in there. So, you know, my hat's off to him.
So, Derek, Ryan Gosling is usually a pretty serious actor. Takes his roles pretty seriously. He's a bit of a, you know, critical darling. Seemed like an odd choice.
He was in Disney. He was in Mickey Mouse Club.
That's true. That's where he got started.
I mean, he can sing and dance, right? Yeah. Like, he's got diversity.
Yeah, I mean, he started that with like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and stuff, right? And is he Canadian too?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I thought he was from like London or something like that. So, what do you think of him in this role? Like I say, he wouldn't have been the first choice, you wouldn't think, but you know, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I like Kaye. I knew he'd been cast, but that was all. And you know, my $1 million question was, you think he's naturally that hairless, or do you think they had to wax him down every few days to keep him smooth? But he obviously had to get into incredible physical shape, which was nice to see, because all these actors get buff for these big action movies and comic book movies. So it was nice to see that he took the role seriously enough to be like, I'm going to be in the Barbie movie. I'm going to be Ken. I gotta physically look fantastic. And I mean, all the main Kens certainly had great physical appearance. Like, I'm sure we're going to talk about Simu Liu in a minute. Right. As one of the other Kens. And like, again, you don't initially think of a Ken being anything other than the blonde white guy, but as you start to see more diversity in Barbie, you start to see more diversity in Ken. And it's like, hey, you want an attractive Asian man? He's at the top of the list, man. Like, great casting there.
And the new Doctor Who, Shudigawa, it was also in this movie as a Ken as well. But I also loved the diverse casting of all the Barbies. You had like Issa Rae as the president. You had Kate McKinnon as Weird Barbie. How perfectly cast was that?
Yeah.
Like, she was amazing as Weird Barbie. You had all these different Barbies of color. You had a trans Barbie. You had Barbies in a wheelchair, different body types. So they were really consciously aware of which people to cast as Barbie to just show the range of diversity, and I absolutely loved that.
And the fact that they were all just called Barbie. With the exception of President Barbie, and the main one refers to herself as stereotypical Barbie, but nobody actually calls her that. Well, I guess Weird Barbie.
And Weird Barbie.
But
we call you Weird Barbie behind your back and to your face.
Yeah. But all the rest of them, it's just, single name, and that's it. You don't need to say Black Barbie, White Barbie, Asian Barbie. They're all Barbie. And that was it. And I think that was perfect. I think that you would have done them a disservice to try and give them some sort of different designation other than just, you are Barbie, straight up.
The same with the Kens when they at the end, when they were going to fight the other Kens, and they said, which Kens, you Ken or us Kens? Like, they even got confused as to which Kens they were fighting and who they were talking about.
Will Ferrell. Now, you already mentioned all these older white guys that are like running the boardroom and making decisions on the Barbie dolls. But I have a bit of a hot take for you. I don't really like Will Ferrell.
Honestly, I'm not a big fan either.
I mean, I liked him in Old School. That was maybe like about it. Maybe Elf, I guess. But I don't know. Other than that, he kind of sucks. I'm not a big fan of him. So I saw him in this, and I was like, you take him or leave him. Not a big deal.
He's good at being a stupid old white man, with stupid old white man comments. Like, he's very good at doing that and being a buffoon and being over the top, stereotypical, patriarchal, in that sense. So having him in that role was pretty genius.
And Derek, you mentioned Simu Liu. He's done pretty well for himself, eh? He's a Canadian. Well, he was raised in Canada.
Toronto guy, man.
He was born in China, but he came here when he was a kid. And he grew up in Mississauga, and he got started with Canadian TV, obviously Blood and Water, and then Kim's Convenience with your good friend Paul Sung Young Lee. That's both of you are friends with him. So, and then when he was cast as Shang-Chi, like, that pretty much made him a Hollywood star. And he's done very well. And I thought he was well cast. I thought he was good.
Yeah, he's great.
Michael Cera. So I just want to give him a shout out.
Alan,
as
you're
Alan.
So great.
I didn't even know Alan was a thing.
Neither did I.
Alan is a real doll in the Barbie toy line? Kate,
apparently, yeah. Along with pregnant Barbie and all the weird ones like that, yeah.
I thought Michael Cera was the perfect choice to play Alan, this kind of bland character that just kind of fades into the background. The thing with him is he's so self-aware of himself and his role. It's so funny. He just embodies Alan. I thought he was just, every time he was on screen, I just laughed, But I want to talk a little bit about the two other female characters in it that were the non-Barbie ones. So America Ferrera was one. I thought she was fantastic and perfectly cast. Not only was she perfectly cast, I felt like it was inspired casting because She played a character on TV called Ugly Betty, if you remember, because she didn't look like the perfect female, and I thought she was absolutely fantastic in this role. Kaye, what do you think of America Ferrera?
I love her as well. Like, she was, the perfect blend of like trying to be a mom, trying to be cool, trying to help this, new friend of hers, Barbie, and she just, embodies everything that women go through and feel and want to try and put out there for their daughters or put for everybody. I mean, her ideas, like just irrepressible thoughts of death Barbie. Like, it's just, she was amazing.
Derek, agree? Liked her?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not as familiar with the work she did before this. I've seen her in some things where she's had like guest appearances. But the things I've seen her in, I have enjoyed. Like, she's an incredible performer, and I think that she was perfect choice for this, and she did such a fantastic job.
Last member of the cast I want to talk about is Rhea Perlman. I have a question. Do you think she deserves an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress for this role?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
No.
You don't, eh? Oh.
No.
Because the Academy usually loves those kind of roles, don't they? Like, supporting actress Oscars are either like a young up-and-comer, like Jennifer Hudson or Angelina Jolie or someone like that, or a veteran who deserves some like career praise. Remember like Jamie Lee Curtis last year? Like that. And I think people generally loved Rhea Perlman on Cheers. So she just, to me, would be a natural fit as a nominee. But not just for that reason. I thought she was really good in this movie. And it doesn't take a ton of screen time to get a nomination or even do it. Look at Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love. She was hardly in that movie at all, and she won. I thought Rhea Perlman was great. So you both disagree. This is interesting. I thought she was fabulous.
Well, I think there's about 7 other more deserving women in this movie alone that had, that are probably more deserving for, again, a lot of the reasons you said. And I think that because she's only in 2 scenes, like, yeah, she's got a great speech at the end, but I don't think that's enough to get a nomination for an Academy Award.
Kaye, what are your thoughts? You obviously agree with Derek on this. You didn't think she deserves an Oscar nomination for this?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she delivered the speech very well, but it wasn't amazing acting. You know what I mean? I'm not too sure who would be in which category, but I would choose if America Ferrera would be a supporting actress in that category, I would choose her over Rhea Perlman. I
guess for me, it was just sort of the gravitas of that last speech that she gives in the film. Just, it kind of ties everything together, and it seemed really, really important. So I don't know. Maybe that was my take. And then I wanted to ask you guys about the musical numbers in it, because my wife,
fabulous.
She is so funny. My wife is watching, and she's like, "This is kind of dumb." And I thought it added to the overall style of the film. Again, one of the reasons why it was so original. So you guys like the musical numbers too? I thought it was great.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the Pink song, the dance party, and then I'm Just Ken, like
the I'm Just Ken one was really good. That was good. Oh man. So anything else that we're missing from this film that you want to talk about before we wrap up and do trivia?
Yes. So the other day I rewatched Barbie again, but on Crave, which is how we can watch it here in Canada. You can watch it with the ASL interpreter version.
Oh,
so because I am a sign language interpreter, an American sign language interpreter, I actually watched that version, and it was amazing to have an interpreter in the bottom right-hand corner interpret the entire movie. It was amazing. So just to have that as another option to make such a great movie accessible. They don't do a lot of this. So, if everybody can, watch it at some point just to get the numbers up so that they can create more ASL interpreted movies for deaf people out there, that would be great.
The more diversity, equity, inclusion that we can inject into film, the better. Because I'm a huge film buff, and the more people that can access film and enjoy film, the better, I think. But Derek, any other thoughts on the film that we haven't touched base on?
Just that at the top of the show, we were talking about the Golden Globe Awards. So Barbie did end up winning a couple of them. It won Best Cinematic and Box Office Achievement, which was the new award. It's basically the Blockbuster Award for movies that generated a lot of money and were very just popular. So they weren't necessarily saying it had the best acting, best directing, best writing. They were just saying it was essentially the most appealing movie to the broadest audience. And other movies in this category included like the Taylor Swift movie, which was the concert movie, and obviously some of the other movies that were nominated for Best Picture. But there's been a lot of discussion about adding a category like this to the award shows in general, specifically the Oscars, and the Golden Globes beat them to the punch. And I think that this accomplished a few things. Obviously, it got Taylor Swift in this specific instance. It brought Taylor Swift to the show, which probably encouraged additional viewers to watch to see if she was going to win or if she was going to present and what she might do, what she might say. It also, I think, gave Academy vote. Well, no, what is it? They're not Academy. They're the Foreign Press Association.
Well, it's changed now. It's not them. It's a different body now.
Different body. But it gives those voters an opportunity to not necessarily split votes and struggle. It gives them an opportunity to say, well, how do we acknowledge this movie's success in a way that will, genuinely recognize it, yet not exclude something else. So, like we talked last week, it's, based on the outcome of this award show, it sounds like Oppenheimer is going to run away with the Oscars. And that is what it is. And that's not to say it's not deserving. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, but it then overshadows some of these other movies that are these exceptionally unique one-off circumstances where it's like, here's this movie that nobody expected to be this great, that's fantastic, and it definitely deserves some accolades. And this was an interesting way to give it that acknowledgement, and yet not deny Oppenheimer the coronation that it seems to be leading towards.
And I'm really...
and as I mentioned, Barbie also won Best Song by Billie Eilish and her brother Finn for What Was I Made For? Really great song. But also I'm Just Ken was also nominated. So, they have a good sense of humor that way too.
Yep. That's good. I really like that you brought up Taylor Swift one last time, because the parallels between her and this film, there's multiple ones. And one that just came to mind was this. We were talking about the patriarchy and all this. When she won that Grammy a number of years ago, and she gets up on stage and Kanye West goes over and takes the microphone from her. It's like a perfect example. It's like, yeah, okay, you won this award, but I'm a man and I just want to just I'm going to let you finish. But first, I just want to tell you who I think should have won. Like, jeez. Oh, man. Just. Yep. Okay. So, Kaye, want to put you on the spot? Rate this movie out of 10 for me, would you?
Ooh, out of 10.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I would give it a 9. Yep.
Pretty
almost good. Perfect.
All right. Derek, what are your thoughts out of 10?
I give it a 9.5.
Wow.
I would agree with Kaye. I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. It's that good. It is. It is that good.
It's great.
It was really, really good. And I just want to thank you for bringing it to my attention, because you know me. And the thing is, too, I only like old stuff, but I feel like this movie has a timeless quality to it. Although it's new and it's got this nice shiny look to it and everything, and it still would have appealed to people back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. It feels a little bit universal. That's really good.
Well, some of the costumes that the Barbies were wearing at the dance party were actual recreations of what Barbies were wearing for dance club parties. Those were their costumes from the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
I was going to say, we watched it on Blu-ray, and there were a lot of special features that showed behind the scenes how they did some of the stuff and the inspiration. So if you have the opportunity to watch it on Blu-ray, give yourself an extra half an hour, 40 minutes to watch the special features. You'll probably enjoy. Most of them are little vignettes that are only about 5 or 6 minutes long, so you can watch one or two of them in their entirety. But there's a lot of great stuff there.
I stuck around for the credits. I'm sure you did as well. And I thought it was interesting how during the credits they were flashing up different versions of Barbie and stuff over the years. Some of them that were hits and some that were misses. I thought was pretty interesting just to watch kind of the history of that play out. So all good. Okay, so we all agree it's 9 or higher out of 10. So it's time now to have some
fun with Caveman.
All right, are you guys ready? Because it's time for us to play a little game that we like to call Pick the Flick. Yeah, pick the flick. You get the synopsis, then pick the flick. You get the year, pick the flick. Derek?
I love your little song intros.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I got to write some more songs. It's been a while since I wrote a new song. So Derek and Kaye, you guys can work together as a team on this one.
All
You're like Barbie and Ken.
Oh.
Well, actually, Derek.
We've already decided. I'm after the nap, Ken.
Oh, no, you're more like you're more like Barbie and Alan, actually.
Oh,
wow.
Sorry, just kidding.
What does Ken think?
So you guys are a team. You guys can work together. So here's how it works. You know how this game works. I give you the year and the synopsis, and you just have to come up with the title of the movie. Okay? But all the movies in today's game are based on toys.
Okay.
Now, because there's 2 of you, it might be a little bit harder than usual. So you got to put your thinking cap on there, Alan. Okay? Are you ready?
He's going to answer them all before I have a chance to jump in anyways. So.
Oh, well, she's really good at this stuff. Okay. Well, we'll start it with one that maybe you'll know, Alan. 2009, an elite military unit comprised of special operatives operating out of the pit takes on an evil organization led by a notorious arms dealer.
It sounds like G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra.
Correct. All right, 1987. A heroic warrior battles against the evil Lord Skeletor and his armies of darkness for control of Castle Grayskull.
Is it He-Man and the Masters of the Universe?
I'll give it to you. It's just Masters of the Universe.
Oh, Masters.
Yep.
Pardon me.
All right, 2007. An ancient struggle between 2 Cybertronian races, the heroic Autobots and the evil Decepticons, comes to Earth with a clue to the ultimate power held by a teenager.
Want to take this one?
Transformers. I'm going to sing the
right. And you can confer back and forth before you answer. No problem. 1986, the Autobots must stop a colossal planet-consuming robot who goes after the Autobot matrix of leadership. At the same time, they must defend themselves against an all-out attack from the Decepticons. I need the full title.
Yeah, isn't that just Transformers, the movie?
The Transformers, the movie, but I'll give it to you. All right, 1996, Earth is invaded by Martians with unbeatable weapons and a cruel sense of humor.
You know this one?
No.
Mars Attacks.
Yes, it's based on Topps trading cards.
Trading cards.
Yeah, go figure. Okay, 2012, a fleet of ships is forced to do battle with an armada of unknown origins in order to discover and thwart their destructive goals.
It's got Rihanna.
Oh, Battleship.
When I was looking this one up, I saw it was nominated for a bunch of awards, and I was like, what? But then when I clicked through, they were all Razzies.
Yeah.
So apparently it kind of sucked. I don't know.
Oh, it sucked.
Yeah. All right, 1987. Dodger must confront the struggles of life as he is visited by a strange group of gross, mysterious little people and intimidated by some older bullies.
Wow.
Is that Little Soldiers? Oh.
No, it is Garbage Pail Kids, the movie.
Oh, sure.
Based on trading cards also, which were themselves a parody of Cabbage Patch Kids. Yeah. Cabbage Patch Kids never got a movie, though, did they? No.
I think they got cartoons.
Oh, maybe. All right. 2015. as a small town, they're going to get harder here. Okay. You work together. 2015. As a small town girl catapults from underground video sensation to global superstar, she and her 3 sisters begin a journey of discovery that some talents are too special to keep hidden.
Gem and the Holograms?
That's truly outrageous.
Yes, the toy line from 1986. Basically Barbies for the music video age back then, right? Okay, 2007. During their first year of high school, 4 best girlfriends face off against the domineering student body president who wants to split them up into different social cliques.
What was the year? 2007?
2007. That's correct.
I have no idea. Do you know?
No.
No idea.
Bratz.
Sure. With
Sure.
it, Bratz with a Z?
With a Z. You got it. So you're familiar with it. Okay. 1985, a group of stuffed animals team up with a troubled brother and sister who just moved to a new town to help a neglected young magician's apprentice whose evil spell book causes sinister things to happen.
You want to take this?
Care Bears, the movie?
I think that's a bit Care Bears.
Yes.
The Care Bears movie?
The Care Bears movie is correct. Yes. Canadian film, animated. Okay. 2022, a little newer. All right. Follows a half human and half werewolf as she finally finds a place where she fits. But when a devious plan to destroy an exclusive school threatens to reveal her identity, she must learn to embrace her true monster heart and save the day.
I don't know new toys. I have no idea. Do you have any idea? Monster High, maybe? I don't know.
Monster High, the movie, yes, based on the Fashion Doll franchise by Mattel. Yeah. Very good. All right, 1986. Snyder, a historian who has spent many years trying to unlock the powers of a statue, wishes to capture Max for validation of his life's work.
Oh, is it My Pet Monster?
It is. There's a live action Canadian film called My Pet Monster. It might be the single most frightening looking character in a kid's movie ever. It is terrifying looking. It makes Reagan from The Exorcist look like a puppy dog. I'm telling you, the thing is terrifying. All right, last one. 2008, set in Cincinnati at the height of the Great Depression. A resourceful young girl helps her mother run a boarding house after her father loses his job.
It's based on a toy?
Yes.
I have no idea. Do you have any? No? No idea.
Kit Kittredge, An American Girl.
Sure.
I remember when those dolls first came out. Oh, man. I was on this business trip in Chicago. I had to go to the American Girl store on Michigan Avenue to find Well, yeah. I was going there for my best friend's daughter. She wanted me to get this specific doll. He contacted me.
Whatever cover story works for you, bud.
Yeah, there was it was like a 3-story department store just for these dolls. And let me tell you, they were creepy. It was like, they were big dolls. It was like a female Chucky doll. Like creepy looking. I just left it in the trunk of my car when I stayed at the hotel. I was afraid it was going to come to life and kill me.
You angered it.
Yes.
What's wrong with you?
Oh man, that thing scared me. So Kaye, thanks for joining us again. You added a nice touch of class around here. Something we're sorely missing. You know, you're going to come back again sometime.
Thank you very much for having me.
You'll come back again, won't you, sometime?
All right, absolutely. Oh,
good. All right, I appreciate it. Okay, so for next time, what do you say we review a movie? Derek, since you had us watch something new, it's probably only appropriate that we go back in time and I'll pick something for our next movie review. So, tell you what, since Barbie was all about women and empowerment and identity, let's go back in time to another movie that explored some of those same themes. I'm going to have us go all the way back to 1980. Derek, I want you to tumble out of bed, stumble to the kitchen, pour yourself a cup of ambition, and watch 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton.
Awesome.
Actually, I watched part of this like about 6 months ago. It was on. I caught some of it on TV, but.
So we're going to come back next time. We're going to review 9 to 5 with Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, and Dolly Parton. And of course, the worst boss ever, Dabney Coleman. Oh my gosh. All right. Until then, this is Chris McBrien on behalf of myself and Derek and Kaye Myers saying thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations.
Thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World. You can contact Chris and Derek at popgoesyourworld.com. Please take a minute and review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you download and listen to the show.